Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanya. This down here is my cat Cody, and he's joining me for this reaction because every time I sit down to do a video, he feels the need to always be on my lap. Today I'm going to do a different kind of reaction. I came across this, another reactor reacted to this, and Twisty, and I thought instead of just simply watching his video like I normally do, because I really enjoy this particular reactor, I was like, that actually looks like a fun video for me to react to. So I'm still gonna watch his reaction because I like his reaction to things, but he's also like a lot younger than me. So his reaction to this video will be a lot different than me, because if you didn't already notice, the title is Things Rich Kids Had in the 1980s That You Wanted. And so the guy, Twisty, the guy that posted this, he's in his like early 20s. So he probably had never even heard of, I would say nearly 100% of the things on this list, maybe 95% of things he has not heard of, but I also don't know what's on this list, so I don't know. I just know that younger people often have not ever heard of a lot of the things that we had in the 80s. And I was born in 1981, so I am an 80s baby. I was alive in the 80s for 9 years, so I do remember a lot of it. I don't know if this is gonna be like toys, like it says rich kids, or if this is just gonna be like cool things that maybe have nothing to do with toys or just cool things. I have no idea. I'm going to assume toys, but I'm just gonna say right now, the one thing I wanted in the 80s that I never got was a Teddy Ruxpin. I wanted that thing so bad because there was nothing like it. There was no other toy that you could just stick a tape in and it would tell you a story. There was nothing like that. It was so cool, and I never got one. But yeah, so that is my 1980s toy that I really wanted that I never got. So let's go ahead and get into this video and see what kinds of things they're gonna show. And honestly, I was not a rich kid. I was actually a very poor kid. So it's very possible that there are things on this list that even I have never heard of. So it'll be fun to watch, I think. And it's a short video. It's only like 8.5 minutes long. But you guys will have to let me know in the comments, like, did you also grow up in the 80s? Did you have any of these things? Did you grow up, like, are you more like 20s and like you never heard of this stuff? Anyway, so let's go ahead and just get into it. Here we go.
The 1980s was a time when everything was changing. Some kids always seemed to be on the cutting edge of technological advances and fashion trends, and they always seemed to have expensive tastes. We all grew up knowing someone who had it all. It might have been one particular friend, or maybe it was just a random kid who was spoiled rotten. So let's take a look back at some things that meant you were rich during the 1980s.
Was that Silver Spoons? I remember that show.
Some larger, more affluent houses during the 1980s were equipped with an intercom system that allowed family members to communicate from across the house. Yelling was how it was done in most homes, but for a
They had intercoms in the 80s? Why didn't I know that? My house was so small you could whisper and hear somebody in the other side of the house.
1980s rich kid, an intercom system was how they were beckoned down for dinner. Having your own dedicated phone line was a classic rich kid perk, but couple that with the coolest novelty phone, and you were the envy of the neighborhood. Yeah. Maybe it was a Garfield phone, or maybe it was one of the clear phones that lit up when it rang.
I remember these phones, especially this one here, this light up phone that's like see-through, whatever light up phone. I remember people having these, and I really, really wanted my own phone for my own room with my own phone number. Obviously I never got that, but I thought that would have been a very cool thing to have.
Either way, it was cool, and you knew you were from a fancy family in the 1980s if your phone was cleverly disguised as something else. When it came to bundling up in the 1980s, there was only one type of jacket to have if you wanted to show off you had a little money. London fog jackets shielded you from rain, snow, and the jealous stares of peers as you arrived at school. These jackets came in a variety of styles and colors, but the only thing that mattered was that large tag that showcased the name London Fog.
Never heard of it.
It was one thing to have a finished basement, but if you had a basement bar, then you were rich. It was even better if the mini fridge was kept stocked with Sunny D or ice-cold sodas. Often you may have found a pool table down there too, which really amazed friends. It was like a real-life Cheers right in your basement, and meant you were living the high life.
Yeah, if I had gone to somebody's house in the 80s and it had a basement with a pool table, if it even just had a basement, I didn't have a basement, it had a pool table, if it had an intercom, like if it had these things, I would be like, these people are rich. Yeah, I didn't have any of this stuff.
There were many different brands of jeans that could be worn during
Wranglers.
the 1980s. There was Lee, Levi's, Bugle Boy, and Jordache. But if you walked into school wearing a pair of Guess jeans with the upside-down triangle logo on your back pocket, you were letting everyone know.
Guess. I remember this. I have never cared about fashion, so brand names and all that, I've never actually cared about, except for like Adidas. I like Adidas. But I do remember Guess because I have an older sister who's 6 years older than me. So she was in high school in the 80s. And so she wore all kinds of Guess, like shirts and jeans and whatever. Like she had all kinds of Guess stuff.
Oh, you were a member of an elite group. Guess jeans advertised on MTV and in fashion-forward teen magazines, with beautiful celebrities pushing their denim. So they were an obvious choice for the rich kids. If you peeked inside the fridge at a friend's house and saw the likes of Grey Poupon in the door, then you knew they were on another level. You knew the commercials for sure, but probably had never tasted the specialty mustard yourself. There were also other signs that your friend had money. And if you opened the freezer and saw a Viennetta ice cream cake, you knew. The ribbons of ice cream just looked expensive, and it made the Neapolitan block of ice cream at your house pale in comparison.
That's true. I do remember.
Did you know someone who wore multiple Swatch watches at the same time? If so, then they were probably one of the rich kids. The colorful and eye-catching plastic watches were big sellers in the 1980s, and many of us had one.
So
but
ugly.
It was saying something if you sported 2 or 3 of them on one arm.
Why? Why would anyone do that? That's so weird. I don't even wear one watch.
If you think back to the 1980s, having a VCR was still a pretty big deal. You could record movies off the TV and watch them back whenever. But the real power play was having a library of bought VHS movies next to the TV. They didn't just rent movies from Blockbuster. They had so much money, they bought the tape outright. During the 1980s, if you had a collection like this, you were living a good life.
I remember when my dad bought us our very first VCR, and he bought one movie because he could only afford one movie with the VCR, and it was Superman. That was the very first movie I ever saw on our VCR. A lot of times we would just like record things off the TV with a blank tape because it's cheaper.
For some of us, having a piano in a formal living room meant you were pretty rich.
House.
This also meant that you had someone living in the house that was sophisticated enough to play the thing. It was even more impressive if it was a grand piano with the top propped open. When it came time to go school shopping, did your mom take you to the local discount store, or were you lucky enough to head off to the mall for a day of shopping? Mall stores always had the...
We didn't go school shopping. Like, we would just wear whatever we wore the year before. We would wear clothes we got for our birthday or clothes that we got for Christmas or something. There was no like special, let's go shopping right before school starts to get you new school clothes. I didn't experience that.
Expensive and trendiest looks. Not only could you stop by boutique stores like Merry-Go-Round, County Seat, and Foot Locker, but you could also shop at large department stores like Dillard's, Macy's, and JCPenney. Speaking of shopping, remember those collared shirts with the little alligator or polo player on the chest? Kids flaunted their wealth by wearing Lacoste and Ralph Lauren polos in the late 1980s. These were just the kind of shirts you would buy at the mall, and although they were perfect for a morning tennis lesson, they were also a classic school look for many well-to-do kids.
That was never anything I cared about.
Most of us had a standard heavy wooden console TV sitting in our living room in the 1980s, but all of us dreamt of a big screen TV. These weren't quite the same as we are used to today, because they still sat on the floor encased in wood, and they had larger projection screens that were the top of the line during this time. Some even had a drawer that pulled out to expose the projector, and a 50-inch TV was as big as you could get. Do you remember when you discovered that they made refrigerators that dispensed both ice and water? It was probably when you were visiting a friend's house, and instead of them going over to the sink faucet, they stood in front of the fridge and filled up a tall glass of ice water, which left you jealous and wide-eyed. Not only did they have a new fancy fridge with French doors, but they also had an automatic ice maker that meant that...
I don't even think I knew anybody that had that when I was a kid. I think everyone just had a standard ugly refrigerator with the freezer on top and the fridge on bottom. My fridge now is one of these side-by-sides with the ice maker and all that and the water thing. But I don't think I knew anybody in the 80s with this kind of a fridge.
Never had to fill up ice trays, and they always had cold water, which just tasted like the lap of luxury. During the mid to late 1980s, basketball sneakers were becoming a popular way to flaunt your riches, and there was no bigger shoe than Air Jordans. A pair of Jordans would set you back around $100 during the 1980s, and that's why most of us were still wearing Converse sneakers. As each new Air Jordan was released, it was interesting to see who would actually show up to school wearing them, and you can bet there were plenty of kids oohing and eyeing over them.
I would
Let
never
me know in the
spend that.
comments if I missed anything, and make sure...
I would never spend that kind of money on shoes. Okay, so that was the video. I actually thought that since it said kids, that it was gonna mean toys, but it didn't. But yeah, some of this stuff I didn't know about. I didn't know that you could have intercoms in homes in the 80s. I didn't know that. I remember the phones, the big box televisions, those ugly collared shirts that people still to this day wear, and they're just so ugly. I just hate a collared shirt. They might look okay on other people, but for me, I can't do that. So there's another video here by a different person, who this video is called 9 Funny Items Rich Kids Had in the 1980s That You Wanted. So this one is funny items as opposed to just regular items. But so if you would like to see me react to this one, let me know in the comments and I can do this one too. They both look interesting. Judging on this thumbnail, they're showing you a bathroom and they're showing the fuzzy stuff that you used to put like to cover the toilet lid and like that sort of stuff. So I'm assuming that that video is going to be mainly those types of funny things. And I remember doing that. I remember people doing that. Anyway, that one has nothing to do with this video. But anyway, I enjoy doing videos like this because, I don't know, they're just interesting. There's sometimes things that you forget, you know, as you get older, you forget what year something came out. So you almost think I had it all my life, but I didn't. It came out only 15 years ago or whatever. You forget, you know, things that were only around in the 80s or 90s. And you forget how much things have truly changed, you know, just the TV, look at the TVs, look at the difference in TVs. It's just crazy how things change over the years. But anyway, I had fun watching this video. If you would like to see me react to more videos like this, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If you guys are interested in joining my Discord, the link is below. It's just a real small group and it's completely free. And I have it because it's fun to kind of be able to have conversations with, you know, my viewers and stuff, and I'm in there every day and we have a lot of fun. So if you'd like to pop in, go ahead and click the link. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and we will see you next time. Are you joining me again? Every video you got to be a part of, don't you? Oh, get out of there! Ghost. Ghost! Show everybody your butthole. I know that's what you want to do.